Hey folks, welcome back to the Frost Dog's Garage. Today I thought what I would do is just a short video on kind of explaining how I'm doing the Wilwood 1288 brakes. These are the large ones. When it comes in the box, it comes as two pieces here. You've got the hat, looks like this, and then you have the rotor, which looks like this, and they are directional specific. If you can see, there's an arrow right there which indicates the direction of rotation. So in this case, this one, if the arrow is facing out, will be on the left side of the car, and these are for the rear. And so you have to assemble the hat and the rotor, and it comes with these bolts. Looks just like this. They each have a washer, and these little bolts also have a hole in them for some wire locker. And I'm going to kind of do a little tutorial on how I go about doing that. I'm not an expert. I hadn't done lock wire for over 30 years before doing this, way back when, days as an aircraft mechanic. But we're going to give it a whirl today. And the wire gauge that they say you should use with these it's 0.032. That's appropriate for the hole size in those bolts. So that's what I'll be using. But to start off, here's a rotor and hat that is already assembled, and I've inserted the bolts. The directions, the Wilwood directions, specify the red thread locker when you put these bolts on. I ended up using the blue, and then in those directions, they also say that the lock wire is an option, basically. But I opted to do the blue thread locker, and then in addition, the lock wire on mine. I believe that'll be more than secure. So these have already been put on with the blue thread locker applied to them, and then they get torqued down to 155 inch-pounds with a torque wrench. And they say that you need to use a 1/4-inch drive torque wrench and a little 8mm 12-point socket. Works pretty good. Those went on no problem at all. But what I think I'm going to do on this, just because it takes so long to do the lock wire, and just to start that off, I am wearing just some black nitrile gloves. I've already done the front brakes like this, and I'll tell you, that lock wire destroyed my hands, destroyed these gloves. I lost count how many times I basically blood typed myself by poking myself with that very sharp wire, and I ended up with blisters. Yeah, my hands were in pretty sorry shape. So what I did for today is I put some good quality Band-Aids on my index and middle fingers on both hands, because you're going to be pulling on this wire, and after a while it can give you blisters. And then I put the gloves over it. But you do need to have some dexterity to work with this fine wire. So essentially, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to show it all. I'm just going to kind of explain it, and then I'll attach kind of a time-lapse video. But what I'm going to do is I'll hook two of these, or through lock wire, on two bolts together that will keep them secure, and then I'll move on to the next pair, and then the next pair, and so on and so forth, all the way around the rotor and hat. But I found that a length of about an arm's length of wire is pretty easy to work with for just doing the two. It's more than you need, but it gives you enough to pull on You're definitely going to need some quality needle nose pliers to be able to help pull this wire through. If it gets bent too much, it doesn't want to go through the hole. But what I'll do is I'll find the hole through the bolt like this, and then I'll grab the end with some needle nose pliers and then just work it until it's kind of at the halfway point of the wire. And then from there, I'll just according to, it has it in the instructions, but you're essentially going to twist this lock wire. It'll go around the bolt in the direction that it would tighten it, and then you twist the lock wire to the opposite side of this subsequent bolt, and then loop it around so that at no time can either of these bolts loosen, because they would be pulling on the lock wire, which would only tighten them. And that's kind of how the lock wire works. I will caution that if you do too many twists in the wire before finding that next hole, then the lock wire, it'll be loose, and potentially allow the wire that goes around the bolt to pop off, and then it kind of defeats the purpose. So the goal is to try and keep it nice and tight, and then when I'm done, I like to just kind of press on the wire between and make sure it's got a good tension to it. So that's my method. There's others that I'm sure have a lot more experience and can do this much easier than I did, and may use one of the lock wire wrenches that's made for twisting the wire and pulling the wire, but I'll just be doing it just with some basic tools, and then I'll go to a time lapse, and hopefully that'll work out, and I'll show you how I go around, and I'll show you the end product. All right, so stay tuned.